Today on the Motherhood Network, we welcome a true trailblazer, Ipeleng Mkhari, a visionary entrepreneur and property leader, and one of South Africa's most respected businesswomen. She's constantly carved new paths with few dare to walk. Ipeleng is the founder and CEO of Mutseng Investment Holdings and made history as one of the first black women in South Africa to establish and own a CCTV and surveillance business. At a time when the industry was not only male-dominated, but also closed off to black entrepreneurs. She further cemented her place in history by becoming the first woman president of the South African Property Owners Association, breaking barriers in an industry long defined by exclusion. Through these milestones, she's redefined leadership and shown us what is possible when vision meets courage, while still being a devoted mother and mentor. The Motherhood Network, a platform you deserve. Are we rolling?
Are we rolling?
Okay, action. Ipeleng, thank you so much for joining us on the Motherhood Network.
Thank you, Nandi. Thank you so much for the invitation. I was taken aback, pleasantly so. It's such a pleasure to be here with you. Really, really, ngiyabonga as well.
No, man, thank you so much. And I'll tell you why our crew was so excited that you'd be coming. So if anything, really and truly ecstatic. And I must tell you why. And I love the fact that you are humble about it. Your story, especially just you being a property guru, this tycoon, in property as a black woman, is one that's unheard of, and one that needs to be told because you will be in the history books. You are that woman.
Thank you, Nandi. Thank
Mhm.
you. Thank you, my sister. I think, the joy of being invited to places like this and talking to women who are so accomplished like yourself and who give us space is that hopefully you give us the chance to show all sides of who we are, because property is something that I stumbled across. It's been good to me. It's been good to us. It's been hard. But the truth is, I'm just a girl from Imlaz. And it's joyful for me and beautiful to just be here and to talk about one of my greatest subjects, my greatest loves, Baumam.
Yes. How
So
beautiful.
thank
yes.
you. Thank you for that.
Now you mentioned Mlazi. I think you have one of the most interesting stories. And we spoke about it offline. Because yes, you grew up in Mlazi, Durban, but your dad's Tswana and your mom's Xhosa.
That's right.
In Durban, Mlazi, K-H.
Sondela siswami.
Lalela ngizosondela.
I almost want to say Kostos. No, it's a beautiful story of love.
Yes.
And these two young birds who are lovebirds in varsity, literally, young politicians, in fact, let me not say politicians, student activists. I think they would kick me under the table if they said they were politicians. Student activists. And Ubaba was in the Christian movement, and Umama was in Saso. In Natal, and Ubaba was out in, Forte. In fact, he went to a couple of varsities, and then he was kicked out because of his activity. And the story goes like this. It's going to be very quick. They fall in love as they are going together and doing all this, politicking and fighting for against apartheid and fighting for our rights. And then my father gets banned. And when he gets banned, a banning order was quite an interesting thing when Anandi. It didn't take you to jail, but it was like a jail because you're banned to a house, uwedwa in this house. So he was banned to a house in Mafikeng. And so while he's in this banning order, he says to my mom, I want us to get married, bashadage. And they got married in the middle of Mafikeng. And because he was in this banning order, he could only invite 2 people. And so they invited my grandmothers. Umamfene no Make. So there they were, party of 4 people, and all their friends, wherever their friends were in varsity and so forth, celebrated away from them. But how I came to be a Durban girl is that when my dad was then unbanned after however long I think it was a year, a year later, you've been in this one place, in this house, and you then call your wife and you say, well, now they've unbanned me. She says, well, come home. And home was eThekwini, where she had finished her medical degree and she was now working. And I had been born during the banning order. She says, well, come home to yourself, to me, and to your daughter. And he comes home. So this Tswana man packs up his bags for love and goes to Durban to be with his wife and his daughter and to start a new life. And that's just the story of how I was born, and my sisters were all born and raised in Makods in this beautiful city of eThekwini, which is home. We call home.
Yes, what a story.
It is quite a story. It is a story. And obviously, Xhosa from Ekatkopo. So it was just this combination of two people who just decided to start their love and their life. And their life grew and the family grew. And eventually, at some stage, we were the only Moloto in the whole of Durban.
Yes.
And I love that story.
Back then with that yellow pages, what's that?
My dad would say, no, if you're looking for Abagamoloto, no problem, to all of our family, in Limpopo or Mafikeng or Rustenburg. He'd say, no, look me up in the phone book. And the phone books of those days, you know them, Nandi. Uvela ubheka uphenge mawuthi Moloto. No, there's no other. And there we were, kwa H141. So,
wow.
So that's our story. And, I'm very grateful, by the way, to my parents for raising us in this absolute melting pot of love and joy and language.
Yes.
It's one of my pride and joys that ngiyakhuluma, ngiyathetha, ngiyabua, nabulabula, I speak. So I love language. And I think I realized soon in life that, in fact, okay, I have these parents, they're from everywhere, but we're here. Our home is Durban. And I loved how many of my friends would call me Ipeleng, because they could never say Ipeleng. And I grew up just loving that and being Umzulu, Umtswana Umzulu. Wepele.
I love that.
And I own that. I own that and I love that.
Wow.
Yeah.
And your language is clearly excellent, and I'll tell you why. So, as you said, your parents, it was tough times. This is during Black consciousness. This is the movement. Steve Biko, a legend and icon. So your parents, amongst that, they know him. These are colleagues. These are people, who are fighting for this revolution as well. How then does one become great? I mean, your mom's then a medical doctor, your father, a lawyer. Nandi, the absolute blessing, I think, of growing up in a community where you had these parents who were all about excellence. Friends, family, cousins. For as long as I can remember, the people around us who were spoken about, whether they were living or had departed, were people who we revered. We would sit there listening to stories. But then we also had the connection, closeness to amazing families, Esikhule nabo emlazi. And you would look around you and you could talk about how so-and-so is doing this, or so-and-so is a businessman, and so-and-so is a medical professional or is a lawyer. And I say the blessing because I think we were given those images. We were exposed to these human beings. Yes.
We were literally taking and drinking from their cups, not knowing and realizing that this would have such an influence on us as human beings as we grew older.
Yes.
And for myself, I can tell you that I have vivid memories of my mom, Oma, or my dad in the mornings when they would have their briefcases. So my mom would have this black doctor's bag.
Yes.
And it would sit by the dining room, kind of on the way to the kitchen, and she's going to go up the steps to go to the car.
Yes.
I have vivid memories of a woman who would walk in the morning. If she was going to take us to school, usually dad would, and would pick up her briefcase, or my father who would do the same. And what that memory of excellence taught me, Nandi, was you work for what you want. You work for what you get. You hustle, you get up, you've got to be disciplined. You've got to respect yourself, you've got to respect others. It just taught me so much without me realizing. So it was a subconscious kind of layering.
Yes.
And eventually one day, you have to get up and do something for yourself. And you draw on those memories. So the blessing of the people, the society, the community, simple living, honest living,
Yes.
excellent living, and hardworking people.
Wow. You said something that really moved me is the respect aspect. And something you've mentioned before is the fact that your mom would dignify her patients, Mr., Mrs., you know, to see them during a time that we weren't seen as Black people.
At all.
And people may not know this, but you're the most humble human being. Just the sweetest soul. And I'm thinking that's a reference point where growing up with your mother, you saw how she would dignify a person.
You know, my mother, I had the honor and the privilege at the age of 12 of working in her surgery. And I decided, you know, back in the day,
Yes.
I suppose, you know, you're on holiday, I get bored. And my mom had the surgery close to home, Kwache, Emlazi, ngase station.
Yes.
And Ubaba had a practice in town. So it just made sense to come and work with mom. And I remember she said to me, Billy, if you're going to come work with me, you've got to wear a nurse's uniform. So I wore one. I remember I had this white little uniform. But the first time I went, I will never, ever forget the experience I had, Nandi. And I have to share this because it is exactly the thing that she would say, I'm not here to be a doctor. I'm not here just to fix people's flus. I'm here to uplift the dignity of our people. When people would walk in, patients who are sick, and, you know, in those days, you didn't call to make an appointment with your doctor. You walked in and you just waited. And as you waited, you got to the point where a doctor could see you. And there was a very simple system. Or Anzandi, no Anjabu would basically take down the names of a lady who walks in.
Yes.
And so when you walk in, you're sick, they ask for your name and they write it down. And they ask for, are you Mrs. or Miss? Papale Pans, they write down, Mrs. Nandi Madida. No problem. They write it all down. They write it all down. And as they're doing that, I'm not quite aware of why they're making such a big thing of the prefix. When the doctor comes out, my mother now, and I watched her do this, she picks up the card and she calls Mrs. Mkhize. No one moves. Nobody moves. Mrs. Mkhize. And nobody moves. And it is only when the person, the individual is called by their first name, where she might have to say, Mrs. So-and-so Mkhize, anyakazi umama wabantu. Oh, that's me. And I said to my mom, why do you do that? She says, you see, my child, these people in this room are not called Mrs. Mkhize where they work. Mrs. Mkhize could be working in the kitchen, in some restaurant. She could be working in somebody's home as a domestic worker. She may even be working in the front office somewhere, but she's not called by the dignity of Mrs. Mkhize. So she doesn't know who's being called. And that's why no one gets up. And so my job here in this surgery is when you walk in here, is to be reminded, who are you? Oh, you are Mrs. Mkhize. You are Mr. Kuzwayo. And we are going to give you that honor and remind you with who you are, so that when you walk out of here, you never forget that.
Sure.
It stayed with me. Nandi, that I can still feel the energy I felt that day, because it just said to me, this woman is not here to just charge people and make them better. She's here to remind us who we are. And what you think about yourself is what you will become.
Sure.
And it's just so powerful. And so the respect, the honor she gave her patients,
Yes.
the love she had for her patients was ever so real and so deep. My parents were just simple human beings who were raised, emakaya. And when she came to this big city, that was who that woman was, that same woman who just wanted to uplift. And I suppose the student activist in her who said, there is no way our people are going to be told that they're nothing.
Yes.
Just because they're Black.
Yes.
We are here to make a change.
Wow.
So I honor that every day. And I honor it, I try, Nandi, by respecting the people whom I live with, whom I work with, whom I walk into shop and see, by loving umama, anybody, and just greeting, getting to a petrol station and being able to honor that human being.
Yes.
Sawubona bhuti, unjani? Just hello. And with absolute respect, sawubona baba, when you know it's an older person. That for me is what my mom and my parents taught us.
Wow. So your mom knew how to heal people.
Yeah.
And she did that, which is just, it's so inspiring. And something you've said that's healed me, and I'm going to quote you, you said something that really moved me, and I know it's going to move a lot of people hearing this now, where you say, I've failed more than I've won. Oh, what
But I've won
powerful
nonetheless.
Yes, but you have won nonetheless.
Yeah.
You have normalized something that so many people feel ashamed of, and that's failure. And we're going to delve through your story even more so. And the failures, which obviously is the reason why you have won.
Absolutely.
And so you're this young lady, you've graduated at UKZN. For those who don't know, it's KwaZulu-Natal, the University of KwaZulu-Natal. Beautiful, young, obviously I'm assuming excited about life. You are then thrusted into these huge roles. Someone says, okay, you can be a part of the CCTV service, you go into property. What skills did you learn, or anything that your mom imparted in you for you to have that sense of, like, I can't do this? Because where does that come from? It's like, oh my gosh, this is post 94, 4 years afterwards. We've just said, hip hip hooray, we're free.
Hey.
There's no reference point here. So you're doing this blindly. You are blind. There's no one where you're like, oh yeah, no, veling yamazo. And they're good in security, or they're good in, the property space. So of course I can just, where's the blueprint?
So I am so grateful that you've raised that, because I hope that our stories help young men and women to understand that blueprints are also things that you create. And I hope and pray that they get that, because we have the power to envision these things for ourselves. Nandi, that little girl had a moment of major adversity. My mom died the year I finished university. That year, in 1996, she passed away a week before Christmas. And I will never forget how that shifted our entire life. I'm the eldest of 3 girls, and our mother was everything. Our parents were divorced at that stage, so she was our go-to girl. She was our everything.
Yes.
And life just changed overnight. You've done all these important things. Uma is going to be there when I graduate. This is amazing. It wasn't to be, but that adverse moment, I believe, opened up so many other moments of opportunity and so much light for me. I just didn't know it at the time. And walking through that journey and coming up to Johannesburg, living with my father, I then get this opportunity to work for this CCTV business that I knew nothing about. So just imagine that, as you've just said, you're young, you've finished this degree, I haven't yet graduated, and a friend calls me up from high school and says, Ips, listen, Queen, there's something here. And I follow it up. It was in the moment when the individual whom I met, who was interviewing me, I said, I'm going to meet this company, the CEO. And he asked me, do you want to be an employer or do you want to be an employee? It was a pivotal moment for me. I knew I wanted to be an employer. It wasn't even a question of thinking about it. I just said, I want to be an employer. And then you ask me, how did you know? Because there was no reference point. There was no electronic security, Black-owned business person whom I knew who was doing that, or a business person whom I could say, hey, by the way, you know what, can I come and talk to you about XYZ? The only reference point I had, Nandi, was the reference point of my parents, the briefcases, those people who got up and did things. And so what I did, I think my memory base, my core memory, switched on and said, you can do it. Nothing could stop you. But remember, I have traditional parents. So my mom is now late. My father is still alive. I'm now living with him in Johannesburg. And I go to my dad, who is still alive today. And I say to Pops, you know what? I'm working as a graduate in training here at Eskom, but I think there's a massive opportunity. And I want to be an employer. I want to be self-employed and I'll grow my businesses. Ntanam, ngeke. You've got this job. I've worked so hard to make sure that you have it. You net degree yako, you're finished now. Just work at Eskom. And I say, Pops, I don't have any commitment to anything right now. Let me try this. Let me try. And if I fail, it's okay. I'll fail and I'll move on. And I have my degree, remember. And so he allowed me that space, Ubaba. I was living with him. I was his eldest daughter. And he had to make sure that post Uma's passing, that he also, I think, provides support. And it was hard. It was hard because I was I'm a perfectionist, Nandi. I was very clear that, Dad, I'm going to do this on my own. I was blessed with a little car that my mom had bought me. I would go door to door, literally hustling, cold calling to go and meet people to build this business. But I want to say to you, that which I did, any young person can do. Any young person can do. I think it is about how you see yourself. I was lucky that I had a core memory to reflect on. But honestly, what I decided was I'm going to take this opportunity now with my two hands. And it took a long time, Nandi, to get it to a point where it was something that I could say, well, it's now grown. It's now something that I can lean on. But you've got to go through that process. You've got to go through trial and error. You've got to trust yourself. And I think that's really what I want young people to know.
Yes. And what I'm hearing is that your mom's legacy lived through you as well. Because you've seen this matriarch.
Absolutely.
Who made things happen. Who dignified people. I love the story and everyone needs to hear this. I get goosebumps. The fact that, yes, this is during, the time where BE is being introduced. It's a new concept. We don't know what to do. Everyone's like, okay, we need people of color, Black people.
We need our darkies.
Yeah. We need our darkies. So we're going to get anyone. Hey, go, please, can you help us? Whatever the case may be. And you finding people who weren't necessarily qualified in the job that you started in, but thought that wasn't right. Where you were saying, these people are just being used as a front. They're not being empowered. They're not being paid right. I love the fact that you saw something in them. And I feel like there's a through line there that's amazing, where that's the same thing your mom was doing.
It's true.
At her practice.
That's so true.
And we were saying, let's empower people. This is not okay. And I'm going to ensure that whatever I start, I empower them the right way, not just as faces, as people who are empowered,
Nobody has actually ever brought that connection of that through line. So thank you. Thank you. You're highly, highly perceptive. What I was thrust into in my first job, working for this company, I took the job, was exactly that. whilst there was joy and excitement of running this thing as a marketing head or a marketing director, I never asked critical questions. Okay, so I'm a director, who are the other directors? And when I realized that there was a gardener and a housekeeper who were my co-directors well into that year, 1997, probably towards the end of the year, I was devastated, Nandi. I was absolutely gutted because it was so unethical for me. I had been reading about BEE, we were in 94.
Yes, it was like,
Kumnandi, life is here.
Yes,
and our freedom was here. Young people, old people. I mean, I would read about companies like Jonic, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, who's now our president, was running that nail, Dr. Ntato Mukana, so many people that we were reading about. And we were reading about BEE. So this concept of Black economic empowerment was there, but it wasn't legislated. It wasn't regulated as much as it is today. But you knew there were so many stories of fronting.
Yes.
And as a young, person who was working, I was constantly feeding myself with information. And when I came around it, I thought, oh my gosh, I'm part of this. I am facilitating this because as I sit here and I go to meetings and I can kumsha and talk all this English, there are two people out there who are being abused, frankly, and are being utilized as fronts. And all I remember thinking was not in my name. Yes. I can't support something like this. And it's being done without my knowledge. So people knew who put the, who set the stage.
Yes, and it was happening all the time.
It was happening all over,
yeah.
Nandi. So taking a stand for me was important, but I was a bit nifty about it because I said, well, I'm going to leave, but I'm going to plan my exit and walk away with something from this organization, something that I can take forward, run the business on my own. And I literally said to the owner, you know what, deregister yourselves from this company, register me as in the CC or the PTY, and I'll take the business on. Iposa iliso CCTV. I've started it, I'll grow it. And they did that. And it was my opportunity, as you say, Nans, to be able now to not just empower myself, but to empower others in the journey.
And thank you for that. Thank you for seeing them. Thank you for seeing everyone. Thank you for seeing us as Black people as well, And you don't say it a lot. You don't toot your horn, but I know a lot of stories where you've changed people's lives,
thank you
as Black people. So I love the fact that you're that person where you're always so conscious in terms of empowering others, taking other people on. And that's a motherly trait you've had before even being a mother. And now you are a mother. I mean, look, your trajectory has been amazing, from strength to strength, from a career perspective. Of course, we don't see the failures. We just see this amazing, incredible woman, who's done amazing things. I love that part. Let me hear.
Failures.
Yes.
Those failures. There's so many. There's so many. So I have a couple of quotes that I love from Bill Gates where he says, success is a terrible teacher.
Yes.
Such a terrible teacher because it teaches you and I to believe in the vanity of success, to believe that we'll never fail.
I'm sorry to interject. Could you say that one more time?
I'll be happy to. Success is a terrible teacher because it teaches us to believe in the vanity of success and to think that we will never fail. And that is so far from the truth. And so success is not something that we shouldn't celebrate. We should celebrate it. But I think what he goes on to say is, it is important to celebrate my successes, but it is more important to heed the lessons of my failure. So I want to take you to 2014.
Yes.
It's 2 years after my company, my colleagues and I, my business partners and I have just gone to do our first IPO, our first listing of a property fund called Delta Property Fund.
Yes.
And we're standing on the floor of the JSE and it's unbelievable. It's November 2012 and I'm like pinching myself. Wow, is this me? I wasn't even 40 then, if I remember. And 2 years later, Nandi, it all fell apart for me. Maybe not for my business partners, but for me. And there were a number of reasons why. I had to walk away from the business that we had listed because I discovered things that I wasn't happy with. And I opened my big mouth and I said, there's a problem. But from my history of the things that I knew, what is my integrity about? What am I about and what am I not about? Walking away from things that are about success and are about money become hard when you believe you've made it. And so 2014 was a moment in my life where I thought, hey, I'm this young woman. I'm part of a team that has been so successful. We've gotten to the floor of the JSC. Wow, we've made it. And I think what God did was to bless me with the opportunity of failure. Just to say, no, Mdanam, you haven't quite made it. I'm going to unravel some of these things for you. And frankly speaking, what that did for me was to break me. Because up until that point, Nandi, we were on a trajectory.
Yes.
We really were. We were doing things and we were touching things, and it was hard. It was very hard, but we were succeeding. And so we were in that process where Bill Gates says success is a terrible teacher, because we were not seeing failure. And in 2015, when I had now walked away, resigned from this business, the heartache, the humiliation that I felt, the fact that I felt like I had lost everything, because not only had I walked away from this wonderful thing that I thought was now our success, but I had to deal with Ipeleng. Now deal with, okay, here's your little business here.
Yeah.
Manage it, run it. I was distracted. I was depressed. I would come home and cry on the couch and say to my husband, I can't do it. I can't. And it was his words at the time, actually, when he said to me, walk away from the money. For your sanity, walk away from all of this. I did. But I cannot lie to you. It stripped me of whom I thought I was meant to be, or whom I thought I was, in terms of my business and all these wonderful things that had happened. And so I had to, 2015, 2016, 2017 were hard, difficult times, Nandi. In my business, I literally was falling apart. The business was falling apart. We lost another contract with one of our other clients in our other business unit. Everything was just going wrong. I couldn't understand it. And I was clutching onto the thought of, no, but I've built the business. So surely something must go right. At home, I was so lucky to have a partner who could stand and say to me, it's okay. And I remember distinctly reaching out to a dear sister and friend. I won't mention her name just to protect her as well. A businesswoman, highly successful, who had gone through a lot publicly. And I said to her, how do you do it? How do you look so together every day?
How?
I'm falling apart. I'll look in the mirror. I don't like who I see. I cry. I'm sitting in an office. I'm crying. I'm like, I'm falling, And she just said to me, Billy, I want to share a book with you and your husband, The Power of the Subconscious Mind, by Joseph Murphy. But she also was vulnerable enough to say, my sister, sometimes we have run a vision or imagery in our minds of this failure, and then we believe it, and then it becomes us. You've got to re-envision who you are. This is the power of the subconscious mind and what you tell yourself. Now, up until that point, I know I've always been a very positive person. I'm an extremely positive being, Nandi.
Yes,
things
absolutely.
Things just will bounce off me.
Yeah.
But that moment in my life, things were not bouncing off me. And I started reading that book. I started reminding myself of the positive things that I'd done or the positive things around me. I started trying to cut out that negative energy. And it worked slowly but surely. And I began to rebuild. But the biggest thing I did, I will never forget being invited by a young Durbanite to speak in Durban. And I started talking about my failure. I started actually living it, saying the words, owning it, not just talking about it in my home or talking about it behind closed doors in a boardroom. I started going out when young people or guests would invite me to come and be their guest speaker. I would say, it's all good and well seeing me on the cover. What you don't know and what you don't see is what I'm going to share. Because that allowed me to truly just be honest and be transparent and to show the other side of success, that it is about failing so many times that in fact you're winning. And that's why I came up, and that was the time when I came up with that little quote for myself to say, I have failed and I've failed, but I've won nonetheless. Because it is in your failure, Nandi, that you are learning, that you are breaking and you're rebuilding.
Yes. Dear mothers and value members of the Motherhood Network, this is a gentle reminder to sign up for our newsletter. And while you're at it, please don't forget to click the like and subscribe button to ensure we continue to give you quality content you deserve. Plus, stay tuned for details on our Mother's Day 2026 event. It's going to be absolutely spectacular and something truly special. The Motherhood Network, a platform you deserve.
And so, something you haven't mentioned is the fact that you're a mother whilst all of this is happening.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
How do you show that vulnerability to your little ones? Do you not? Do you have to then quickly take, the tears off and wipe them off and keep it going? School drop off, this, playtime. What happens?
I think you can only be yourself. You have to be honest.
Okay.
So yes, I'm a mom. I'm a wife. I'm running around. I'm in my heels. I'm wanting to look good.
Yes.
I'll never forget going to functions and coming back home and saying, I feel like such a fraud. I feel like such a fraud. I'm out there, I'm doing things, but inside I'm breaking. But that was a journey.
Yes.
And so at home, I suppose, Nandi, your children only know you as mom, right? Yes, they know there's a lady who goes into meetings and does great things. But when I was home, I just had to be Billy. I had to be mom. I had to be honest to myself. And I had to walk this journey with my family. I couldn't lie to myself or to them, pretending like things were rosy when in fact they were not. What I did try and do is to pull myself together as a mom and be, I wouldn't say always stoic, but to be able to say, it's tough, my children, but this is what mom's doing about it. And there's a particular story where I had a 12-year running legal battle with one of our departments in the country, which could have shut my business down. But I kept talking about that story. I would bring it up maybe once a year or twice a year. And eventually when I could see Guti, we're going to win something here, I started saying to my family, you know what? I think we're going to win. I think all this hardship is going to come to something. So I think what I knew is that I didn't want to dump my problems onto my children and my family, because that's heavy as well.
Okay.
But I couldn't allow them to think that it's all rosy. One had to give a sense of things are under control. However, they're not perfect, Bantwana bam. They're not perfect.
Okay.
And that mom will rise again. But right now, it's hard. And indeed, when we closed that particular legal battle,
Yes.
after all the pain of walking away from a business, I remember celebrating and saying, I'm now at that point. And the joy of my children, Mommy, you did it.
Yes.
It actually puts a lump in my throat, because as much as they're kids, they're also perceptive. They can see when a mother drops a tear.
You're right.
Or when you're talking to your partner and you say, what do we do? Or you have that wine, too much wine, and you're thinking, I'm leaning on some things that I shouldn't be.
Yeah.
They can see that.
Yes.
So it's not like they're not feeling it, but they also want to protect you.
They do.
So motherhood is not easy, but I think it's got to be honest.
It's got to be honest.
It's got to be honest, my sister. It cannot be fictitious.
No.
Our children will go into the world and they will have to fight. They will have to deal with things. I pray to God that they will know that it is possible, that they can, because they've seen it.
And exactly that. What would their reference point be if you weren't honest?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
As you said, you took a lot from your parents as well. You took a lot from your mother.
Yeah.
And that helped you just survive life, really and truly. And just to, I think it's so important for kids just to see that we're human.
Oh, my word.
Right?
Oh, we break.
We
Fall
break.
apart.
We're human.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
Go through ups and downs and it's okay. But for them to see that, so it really is tangible. And when should they one day become mothers, they'll remember that.
Absolutely.
That mommy was like this.
This is how we dealt with it, or how I can deal with it. I think you said something to me earlier. It was quite powerful. You said, our generation is transparent. Our generation just tells our parents, listen, if you've got problems, don't make them mine.
Yes.
And a lot of what we carry in our generation is what our parents did. Sometimes it's to kind of seal it. Oh, no. Kuzolunga bantwana bam, don't worry, mommy's on top of it, or dad's got it covered, or whatever. And what I've learned through motherhood and through seeing these amazing children is that I can't pretend to them.
No.
I can't pretend to be the stoic, strong woman.
No.
If I'm going to break now, I'm going to have to be honest about it now. And that is what's going to make them stronger.
Yes.
You know, as human beings, as young girl children, it's what's going to make them honest. And when we come out of it, we all come out of it together.
Yes.
It's not one person who says, oh, I've made it. And it is a hard transition, by the way, Nandi, for us in our generation.
Yes.
Because I can tell you that, you know, in my 50s now, I can.
Oh, and you look so good.
See myself.
Sorry, I
Thank you,
gotta.
sis. Thank you, my darling. We're in
That
that
age, yes.
Wow. But I can tell you that I know so many friends who are in this age group where I wouldn't say siyafihla, but I would say that there's a fear. There is that fear of, but hang on, I've held it together for this long. Surely it's okay.
Yeah.
And I think the gift we can give to our children is to just be.
Yes.
Is to just be those people. And
Yes.
so entrepreneurship is such a journey. Failure in entrepreneurship is probably the cornerstone of what that is.
Yeah.
There is no way that I could have been a mom, I could have been a wife, I could have been a businesswoman and just sailed through it as if, you know, this is just an amazing process.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's the gift our children are giving us.
Oh yeah, and research has also just shown that the more transparent you are, obviously from an age appropriate perspective, you know, regarding your kids, the less anxious they are, the more they know how to navigate the world.
Yeah.
Also not feeling so overwhelmed because again, like we're saying, there's reference points there and saying, oh well, mommy dealt with this way, you know. And you are saying, and I'm seeing it more and more, and it's so beautiful that the world we're living in is just more transparent about where we are, that we're just human. And that's why there are such platforms, you know, and why we love the fact that you're willing to speak about your story in a transparent light. In fact, a friend of mine was saying, you know, something I love about Ipeleng is that she's always so open about her journey and her success. Of course, holding what's precious to her, and I think that's also important, that balance that you have with your own personal life, but just in terms of your career, you know, even saying right time, right place as well, but what did you do with those opportunities? And again, I always look up to you, just so you know, as a mother.
Thank you.
Your children have done so well. I mean, we saw the matric results as well. I said, yo, hi, Ipeleng. She even has kids that are getting marks like this. With everything else that she's doing. I'm not saying that that's necessarily what it's about, but just the fact that this says so much about the people you are and that your kids are clearly inspired as well. I know people are watching and thinking, how do you do it? How do you manage to
with a lot of help,
right? and that's what we need to hear. With a lot of help.
It's not something you do alone.
No. So what? The tutors, you being there, because I mean
everything. And it starts with the partnership of the parents.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nandi. Thank you. I'm in awe of our girls. I really am. I can't tell you how these children bring the greatest joy, and their friends. And I'm a girl's mom.
Yes.
So that's who I am in my heart, and that's how I've been raised.
Yes.
And I must share, my mother was the seventh of seven girls. 7 Xhosa women, you can just imagine.
A lot
Raised
of fun.
by a matriarch, uMamfene,
Yes.
uHlathi, uJambase. And this woman raised these 7 girls almost single-handedly because her husband died when my mother was 4, the 7th. So when I was born, I was the first of 3 girls. And I have given birth to 3 girls. So I'm a girl's mom. I'm a girl's girl. I know nothing else.
Yes.
And so the gift that God has given us with these 3 children is an opportunity just to impact another young woman's life, another young girl child who will become a woman. And when I look at them, I am in awe. I'm grateful. I know they're just a gift to us. We don't control them and own them. They are God's creatures. And, I will say, Nans, that we do everything that we do as parents with a lot of help. I don't want anybody to even think that there's perfection in this thing. There's so much imperfection in it.
Thank you for that.
You are doing it and just failing forward and getting up, making the mistakes as you go along as a mom. But I think making them with so much love.
What's a myth you'd like to dispel for mothers in business or working mothers?
I love that. I think for all moms who are working moms, I want to dispel the myth that you have to find balance all the time. I really would like to invite working moms and women in business to understand that balance is found in those little moments. It's not a constant, and that's okay. And it's not anything bad or a failure on your part if you think you're not in control and everything is working out at the same time. I learned in the early stages of my motherhood role that guilt that you're led by and that you're driven by and you think you're rushing to be somewhere, it became something that became counterproductive for me. And what I had to learn is that I needed to be there where I am or where I was. So if I'm here with you, Nandi, and I know that my girls are young little girls at school, or someone is maybe at a recital or something, it's to not have guilt that I'm not necessarily there. It's to know that I've got to give of myself and be here where I am. And when I'm with them, be there where I am. It took me a long time to understand that. And I think we often talk about, hey, how do you balance? How do you look so together? How is it that you're a mother, you're a wife, you're a businesswoman, you're a leader or whatever? Women are doing so much. Women are doing so much. And I think if they can just understand that the balance is found in those little moments, and that's okay. It's really important for me.
Oh, I can just imagine how proud your mom is of you. Right?
I think of her a lot. I talk to her a lot. I hope she is, and I think she is. And I think that she's proud of her girls, all of us. I think she looks down upon us and says, Bantwana bam, I may have left young, but I had left a foundation that allowed you to understand what to do. My mom left at my age. Right now, at my age, at 50, my mom passed on. And I often dream and wish that I could just bring her to a beautiful hotel, take her out to a spa, spoil her. And I know that she knows that those are the things that we would be doing with her. So yeah, I think she's smiling, Uvuyi. I think she's saying, we did good by you girls.
Oh,
You know, we
definitely.
tried.
Oh,
Absolutely.
definitely.
Thank you. Thank you, Siswam.
It's such a pleasure to have you here. But also, lastly, like I said, you are a true inspiration, and you will go down in history books as that lady who made it normal,
I hope so.
tangible, real, that us Black women can do so much in property and business, but still be kind and humble and see people, dignify people. And so for your little ones, the girls, the beautiful ladies, I must say, she has a mouse pad, which I love, with her daughter's faces. Oh, and she showed me it with such pride. You know, you were beaming. And I just thought, what a mom loving her daughters, her girls. What legacy do you want to leave for them?
Sure. Wow. Thanks, Nandi. I embrace all the amazing things you've said. I really do. I receive them with so much love and with open arms. What legacy? You know, I would love for my girls as they grow up to know that, you know, a couple of things that I want in my legacy that I would love to leave for my girls. One is to be kind. I would love for my children to be compassionate, to be kind people, to not see themselves as better than, to really be able to look at someone in the eye and be respectful. I want for my girls and the legacy that I'd like to leave them that hard work never broke anybody's back. So if you want to get somewhere in your life, you've got to put in something. It doesn't just come out on its own.
It's true.
And that is the legacy of their maternal and their paternal grandparents. That is what we have been raised in, is this absolute knowledge that you work for what you have and what you get.
No shortcuts.
There's no shortcuts, Mtanam. There's no shortcuts, Nandi, you know. And if there's anything that they've learned in the legacy of how we have walked this journey, it's honestly, ethically, with kindness, you know, with respect for self and for the next human being. And that in doing that and in living in that way, you are loving yourself in the best way that you can, you know. Probably the third and last thing is self-love. I want my girls to love themselves. I want them to love themselves in a manner that is honest and true to self, because that's the only way you can give love to somebody else. And I hope that as women and as young women, that they understand truly what that means. You know, that's the kind of legacy I would love for them to hopefully just pick up and take forward for themselves.
You have moved me in so many ways. I know lots of mothers watching this are just moved beyond words, that you've made failure okay, that it is a win, to love yourself, to respect others, to be kind. And this all now makes sense. Why you are the person you are, why you've accomplished so much, not only in terms of the external, but internally as well. There are a lot of people that when you're no longer on this earth, it's not about all the great stuff you've achieved that we look at, you know, but those who've gotten to experience you, experience a human who wasn't perfect, but a beautiful soul who cared deeply about people.
Thank you.
That's you.
Thank you, Nandi. Thank you, Siswam. Thank you. Sure, those are big words. I just thought of my grandmother, Makuzwayo and Mamvene, because they really walked that. They were selfless, committed women, South Africans, leaders, moms, they left something in me. And I can only say that Mthatha kwabanye Nandi, it's not what I have figured out just on my own. It's not because I'm smart. It's not because I'm special. Tata kwabanye. And I pray that that's how we can take it forward for our own kids, to just be those human beings every day. So thank you. Thank you for the love, the gift of being here, and for the fun.
Oh, we had so much fun.
I loved it. I loved everything.
Thank you. Thank you for your wisdom. Wow.